What's going on, YouTube? My name is GinJTCG, or Chris, and today I'm back with a new series for the channel, the Battle VIPs podcast. I am joined by my co-host, Avery, or on the Discord, Nuclear, and normally we will be here with one of my other best friends, Josh, or JT Hydra on the Discord, but Josh couldn't make it tonight. He wanted to say hello and talk about a lot of his decks, so I will make sure I've done that in the past, like what he's played and everything, but he will be here for every other episode, except for, sadly, the first one of all episodes. That being said, a little bit about me, since I could talk about just more about like my life as a card player and everything in a series like this, instead of something like a regular video. I have been playing Pokemon for 4 years now. I started during COVID when I picked it up with a few of my friends just as a little like side hobby because we were sick of playing video games. Just during lockdown, it kind of sucked. Like, you know, we were bored. We lived just outside of New York City, so like it was strict, all the requirements. So we all just went in our attics, pulled out some cards, and that's when we got into it. And I originally played with the coin flip Maractus and just spammed Cherim to get energy, and it was the most hated strat out of the whole friend group, but it worked, and it was a ton of fun, and created this new shiny cardboard addiction that has led me to this podcast right here. Since then, I've played in 3 different regionals. I started out in Hartford in... what year was Hartford? Was it 2023? Right? It should be. Yeah, 2023 Hartford. I played Stall way before it was cool, with Pulling Currents and Manaphy, which was the only way I could dig out stuff from your hand. I didn't have any of the Pokey Flutes or any of the other Erica's Invitation. I didn't have any of that cheese when I played it. But I did alright. I went, what was it, 2-4-3? And I was just happy that I had more not losses than losses. Like, I was stoked. And I played against some cool people. Like, Ian Robb was one of the guys I played against. Awesome guy. Ran into him at another one of the regionals I went to. And even he was like, dude, this deck was ridiculous. He didn't even know what it did at the time. And, you know, he's a pro player. So for a pro player not to know Stall seems like ridiculous now. But there was a time when it was new and no one played it. I then went to the Pittsburgh Regional in the fall of 2023, where I made my one and only Day 2 appearance playing Arceus Pikachu Tapu Koko. And I went 7-0-2 in Day 1, got hammered in Day 2, and I closed out, 8-4-2, I believe? Like, I got absolutely hammered in Day 2, or 8-2-2, whatever. I had 1 extra win in Day 2 and 2 ties, and however many losses would have made me not be in top cut was obviously that many, but I had a blast. I played against some awesome players at that regional as well. Like, I played against one of the Reinhardt twins. I played against Rahul Reddy in my last match of Day 1. I met some awesome people, and I have ran into them since, caught up with them. I mean, that might have been my favorite Pokemon experience of all time, was that. I mean, I had, like, the last game, there had to be like 70 people around the table, and half of them were making fun of me for playing Flying Pikachu, but it cooked at the time. Definitely carried going out of Day 1. And after that, I went to Charlotte in 2024, and I played Arceus, Rillaboom VMAX, and Klefki, which I made... So I pulled an all-nighter, and I drove straight to Charlotte. So I had 0 hours of sleep on going into Friday, and I made the deck that Friday night. I had tested Arceus Mimikyu, that's what I originally was going to bring, and then at like 8 p.m. I had an epiphany because I was way too overtired, and I'm like, nah, screw it, we're doing Rillaboom. Rillaboom cooked. And I went 5-4, so I was pretty close to making Day 2. That being said, my testing was also at the regional. So by default, I figured out how to play my matches while playing the match, and that definitely bit me in the butt a little bit, but I mean, it was a ton of fun. And the next regional I'll be going to is the Baltimore Regional, where I can't wait, and I hope I run into just some of the people I've made connections with since I've made the channel. And I don't really know what I want to play yet, but there are a bunch of decks that I've been cooking up. I need to test out a little bit more, and yeah, I mean, I'm just super looking forward to seeing where the whole TCG career, YouTube journey, all this will take me, but it's become a big part of my life, and I couldn't have asked for a better hobby to get into. That being said, I'd like to say a grand hello to the first person I've ever had on the channel, my boy Nuclear, who I've known since pretty much, 3.5 years now? We've been playing together?
That sounds just about right, yeah.
Right? Yeah, we went to our first tournament ever together, because that was yours too, no?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, we went to we didn't warm up at all with the local tournament. We went to a 2K tournament when we had like awful decks for it. I was playing Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, into the new Ice Rider Palkia Mew meta, and I got hammered. I did awful, but you did better than me, no?
Listen, dude. That Infernape was not cooking that day.
That was right.
It was
You
not
played
cooking
the
that day.
Infernape. Was it the Battle Styles Infernape where he discarded a bunch of cards and you tried to hit energy? Yeah, no, we didn't do too hot at all. We set the bar way too high for our first tournament. I think between us, we might have had like 3 wins. It was like a 6-7 round tourney. We did awful, but it was a lot of fun. And I mean, here we are. So it didn't beat us down too bad.
100%.
Do you want to say anything about you before we get going?
Oh, yeah. So my name is Avery, a.k.a. Nuclear. You can also call me Guardian. Both names switch out like every other week, and my friends yell at me for it because I never have the same name. I never do, and everyone's like, who is this guy anytime I speak? But my background does not normally consist of card games. My background is in the FPS genre. I did play for my college's FPS team for Valorant. Every time I look at that game, I want to drive toothpicks through my eyes, but it's completely fine now because I have completely left that game to the side. And now I'm back on Counter-Strike, which, is an upgrade for me because that's where my roots come from for the FPS genre. Currently working right now to try and get up there. And when it comes to the Pokemon TCG, my background consists of I started early in like the Diamond and Pearl era as like a younger kid. And then I sort of fell off because I didn't really play the game. I just collected because shiny cardboard, when you're like 9-10 years old, like that's fire to you.
Oh, same. I had a shiny cardboard collection at that point. I never once played though. That's how we found cards during the COVID era. We just had them in the attic. No trainers, only Pokemon.
Oh yeah, those decks must have been cooking crazy. What's consistency?
Consistency was just a state of mind. We maybe had like 25 Pokemon in a deck, 10 energy, and like whatever the rest is trainers.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
After that era, I sort of fell off, and then I fell back in love again during X and Y base set. That's when I sort of came back into the game full swing, because I remember getting a pack of legendary treasures at my local Toys R Us, which they charged like $7 at that time for a booster pack. I don't know why. I can only imagine what it'd be today, considering prices are going through the roof.
40
I don't know. They would probably be like $12, $13. But I remember getting, what was it? It was a Meloetta EX full art, and that just sparked my love for the game again. I'm like, I like this. I went online, I made a TCG account, I redeemed the code, and then I just started playing ever since then. So I think the X and Y era is my favorite era of Pokemon. I feel like there was a lot more that you could do. Recently, I know Chris stated earlier that like he didn't really start earlier, as early as I did. I won't say early because like that was still like
4 years
10
ago.
years after.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's only been like 1-2 rotations because the Sword Shield era lasted like 18 years. So like, yeah, I really haven't played like all that long.
Yeah, I've probably been playing the game for like a decade now, on and off, because I sort of like from X and Y base up until like right before Sun and Moon team up is when I was like really heavy into it. I remember, if anyone remembers Yellow Swallow, I was like pretty big in that community. Me and the mods and him himself and his silly little Brita. We were playing games back and forth. It was a good time. We were all chatting, just having fun. That's where I found my love for rogue decks, because he loved to just play random stuff. And it was just so fun to just sit there and watch a stream. I'd come home from work or school, and I just pull it up just to chill and have a good community. And then I remember right when I came back, it was like early Sword and Shield, and I was still playing in between then. I always had like at least one of the like decent decks at the time. I just didn't really have much time, considering I was like still trying to build my reputation up in the FPS genre. But then I met Chris at our local game store, and I remember I had recently bought like 3 boxes of
That's right.
Chilling Rain.
The Chilling Rain. Yes, right.
I remember, and I got so lucky. I had like a hyper rare Shadow Rider Calyrex. I got a secret rare Psychic Energy Alt Art Calyrex V's, and I was like, yo, if you want to play Shadow Rider, like I'll literally give this to you for like, what was it, like 30 or 40% off, because like I didn't really have like shit at the time.
Off the value, yeah, because I traded you cards. I traded you a mix of cards and cash. But you didn't care. You were just like, yo, just take them. You're playing Shadow Rider. You might as well.
I want to hook you up. I want to make sure that
I still have
go to your next. I'm so glad you do.
Yeah.
I'm like that era was it was just so silly.
Yes.
Shadow Rider was like it was literally Teal Mask Orgapon, no?
Well, when I played it, it wasn't during the Shadow Rider era because we were still playing like in my basement, like with my other friends then before I met Nuclear at the comic book store by our house. So it was like post when Shadow Rider was meta, and was when Ice Rider, Calyrex, Palkia, or no, it was before Palkia. It was when Mew like took off. It was around the Fusion Strike time.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was in the Dark Ages that we met.
At that time,
yeah.
What was I playing? I was playing Flying Pikachu Jolteon, which that sounds like it was so long ago.
Yeah, actually, that really was. It really was.
that was ages ago. Like you
to
look
shut
at
off the
Jolteon
Inteleon engine.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't want to talk about that. Oh no,
and we're getting it back.
Yep, if you guys are sensitive to like unhinged comments about recent meta, like you're here for rogue decks, obviously. You know, my son Chris be cooking up with some meta decks every now and then, but the rogue decks are what we bring to the table. We like to play the off meta because we like to sit there and we like to actually think when we play the game. We like to use our brains and don't let our decks.
That's not necessarily true. So for Pittsburgh, I purposely made my deck to turn off my brain because there was no draw engine. Arceus, Flying Pikachu, Tapu Koko only. I either had Boss or Judge in hand, or I didn't. And there was no in between. It was like, okay, your hand's more than 4, I Judge. I could kill that. Boss. And if I didn't have it, I didn't have no thinking. Just playing. It's the ideal way to play.
Fair enough.
All B-Barrel is a liability when you think about it.
Yeah, 100%. It literally just sits there and it's like, that's a free prize if they want it. And as a GM-Pal player, I'm looking at my Frigibax and Baxcalibur on the board, and I'm literally at the start of each turn, I'm like, if they have a Boss in hand, I'm flipping this table. Like, I don't have
Which has almost happened at Third. Third Universe is the store we went to, where we met and everything for locals before I moved. And I've seen Avery almost flip the table a few times, from getting hit with the turn 1 Greninja, turn 1 Boss KO, and the 1 Frigibax you got down. It's
just unlucky things. Like, we played a limitless tournament, and I swear to you guys, like, I will put this on whatever deity y'all believe in, I will put this on. I play 10 energy in my backs, GM-Pal. I prized 6 energy.
Yes.
I somehow prized 6 energy.
Do you have a clip of that?
I don't, but if I did, I would
just put it as a short for proof. Yeah. That was wild.
I even texted my opponent. I'm like, I just Ultra Balled. I have 4 energy in the deck, and like, we can play this out. But like, I'm gonna let you know that I'm only hitting 240.
Yeah.
These superior energy retrievals are gonna have to go crazy.
Every turn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then my boy Josh, I got hit. So I was actually an RA at college, just to save a little money. Free room and board was kind of clutch. I needed to do it to make sure I could afford college. But Josh was actually my resident at first. And I mean, Josh was a Pokemon player in the VGC. I spent a bit of time playing the VGC as well in my life. I love playing it just on the side for fun. And Josh and I were talking about Pokemon, and I just convinced Josh to go to Hartford with me. Not even to play, just to hang out and like learn about the community. And Josh fell in love with the game since then. So Josh is a newer player, been playing for 2 years now, but has like taken light years in terms of steps compared to me in my first 2 years. I mean, Josh's first deck ever was a Lost Zone deck. Mine was a 10 trainer card Maractus deck. I mean, definitely a difference, but Josh will definitely tell you about that more on episode 2. And we're going to be making these bi-weekly, so they'll come out like 2-3 times a month. And we'll leave Josh for the spotlight to talk about their up-and-coming Pokemon career as well. And the 2 regionals Josh has been to, too. Avery, you haven't been to a regional, right?
I don't think so, no.
No. Baltimore will hopefully be the first one.
Praying for that day because
oh,
I
yeah.
might break out GM-Pal, I might break out Magnezone, or maybe later once we get into newer cards coming out, I might be cooking with a Darkrai build. I might be cooking with that.
Speaking of the new decks in Baltimore, Just as an overall preview for what these podcasts will look like schedule-wise, we are going to start off with a little meta forecast, talk about the top 7 decks that we think are in the meta. Obviously, people have different opinions. People think different decks place higher or should be on the list, shouldn't be on the list. And this is just kind of what we came up with. If you think anything differently at all, let us know down in the comments below. Plug the Discord server. It's also in the description below. Please join it. Let me know what's up. And if you think that certain decks should be on the ranking, or if you want to message me just to consider one for the ranking before the next podcast episode comes out, I mean, I'd love to hear it. And I think you can vouch for this. I've responded to, I think, every comment that I've gotten thus far. And I really try very hard to do that on both Discord and the channel. So when I say I value the feedback, I really, really do. And I know we might totally botch some things. I mean, it says here it's made by a bunch of goons. It's not necessarily going to be the perfect 7, but it's what we think. So we got that. Because we're a rogue channel, we got the top 3 rogue decks at the moment. And by rogue, all we mean, and I'll kind of explain more as we get into it, it's just not popular right now. What I consider a rogue deck to be is something that falls out of the, essentially, 7 to 10, maybe 12 most common decks. So a deck that might have been meta and destroyed tournaments and was the most popular deck can be rogue now because no one really plays it. Or it could be a deck that, like, I've shown on the channel, a deck I've made personally, Avery, Josh, anyone in the Discord server has made personally, and sent me that they think they've been having a crazy amount of success with. Basically just any deck that's not, like, in the top 10 most popular decks, or a meta deck, is what I would consider, I think, like, all of it, you know, it's what rogue is, more or less. And then, so we'll have 3 of those, and then we'll get into a little game, which we'll explain when we get into it, called Who's That Pokemon? Make sure you stay around for that. I'm super excited to do this with Avery today. And then we will be talking about just some new cards coming out. Shrouded Fable does come out in 2 weeks, right? Yeah, it should be. Just about August 2nd. You guys will be seeing this on the 18th. We're recording this on the 17th. But August 2nd, I believe, is the date for Shrouded Fable, which is a mini set coming out. And although it's a mini set, it actually has, like, an unholy amount of cards that are going to destroy the meta. Like, completely flip it on its head. So we're going to be showing off some different cards that we think will be good, definitely affect the meta, are on different lists in Japan that are doing super well, so there'll be a section for that. And then just a real quick kind of overview on some changes to the channel. Nothing, like, bad, just stuff like small series and once a week things that I wanted to mention here just at the end, so if people wanted to keep up with what videos are coming out when, you know, we got a little time for that as well. And if you have any video or series ideas you want me to do, please join the Discord server down below and let me know, because actually one of them is an idea from one of the members in the Discord, and I'll give a shout out to them when I get to that as well. So that being said, I mean, we might as well jump into the first and well, sorry for the cut. There wasn't meant to be a cut, but I didn't realize my mouse was on my one screen with my recording software, and when I went to slide it over and change the slide, I actually hit stop recording. So we did an entire rant about Gardevoir EX and how much we despise it because it's the BDIF, and there's a whole lot to explain, which we'll do it again. But I didn't record it because I'm a bum, and I don't know how to properly do stuff like this because I'm the worst new YouTuber there could be if I'm hitting stop recording by accident. Anyways, BDIF, Gardevoir EX. Surprise, surprise. I hate the deck.
Who would have thought?
Yep, I hate it. It's amazing. I don't even want to talk about it again. We just talked about it for like 7 minutes. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Like, listen, the whole point is you want to use Curlius as your draw engine. You want to use Gardevoir to throw damage counters on your Drifloon and Screamtail so you can hit your opponent's bench liabilities or support Pokemon. Your Fluttermane's just there to be annoying. Your Monkey Dories are just there so that way you can just say, oh, you did damage to me? Well, guess what? I'm going to punish you for playing the game properly. Your Radiant Greninja's there for more draw support. What else do you have? You have Cresselia there just because. Your Manaphy's there because what deck doesn't play Manaphy for so... Oh my god, I don't want to...
Yeah, I'm upset to do this again. The numbers on the right side, how well it's been doing. 13.3% overall, which is the most played deck, I believe. And these numbers are for the past 2 weeks only. So now, if you go on Limitless, it's not like, you know, the past set. It's just the past 2 weeks from this recording date. 18.2% of the Gardevoir players have legitimately won tournaments in 50 or more people. That's what all of this is from. It's for tournaments with 50 or more people. 12.5% have gotten top 4. 13.6% have gotten top 8. Past that, I mean, we're talking about how the deck just has everything it needs. This deck, although it's the best deck in the format, I really advise new players to not play it because it is the hardest deck to play. As much as you have everything at your disposal, I think the reason it's the hardest deck to play, which actually we didn't talk about, that's exactly what I was going to mention when I realized I stopped the recording like a dummy. is because it takes so long. So if you bring this to like an in-person tournament and you have 50-minute best of threes, most Gardevoir games take 30 to 40 minutes. So you have to plan to play it like a best of one and win game one or scoop almost instantly, which is a really hard call to make. So you can win one, or if you scoop, you have to win the next two very fast. But this deck takes forever to play. There's a lot of hard choices on what you got to refinement away. Do I, use my one boss? Do I Iono right now? Do I dig for Unfair Stamp? Which attacker do I use at the moment? There's a lot of decisions that come with this deck, and because of that, a lot of, even pro players won't necessarily bring it to a regionals, because in a best of three, format, Japan plays a best of one. In America, we have best of threes for 50 minutes. It's very hard to make that gamble on, do I scoop? I'm 10 minutes into game one and I know I'm losing, and can I still even finish 2 games if I scoop now? So, your turns will take a while and you'll get, very mentally tired playing this deck. But
yeah,
it's the best.
If you want a deck that you don't have to use every single brain cell that you've ever been given, we can move on. We can move on to something else. You know
awesome.
what I mean?
So, Gardevoir, BDIF, moving on. I can't handle more Gardevoir. If you're watching this video and you're a fan of my channel, you shouldn't be playing this, because we are rogue decks only here.
If I catch you in the VC streaming yourself playing the game, and I see you playing Gardevoir, I will personally take it upon myself to disconnect you from the VC. And if I see you come back, and play Gardevoir again, that's a ban. That is a ban. I swear, I don't want to see none of this. Until it rotates, I don't want to see it. And expanded, y'all can have all the fun you want.
Unless there's an expanded rank ladder on PCG Live, which would be pretty sick. Then I feel like I'm not going to want to see Gardevoir there either, because I'm going to start playing that too.
I'm gonna need to see my X and Y cards coming to TCG
Live,
but we're not having that anytime soon.
That's true. All right, the number 2 deck, we got Lugia Archeops. The deck's biggest weakness, itself. Nothing's changed when playing Lugia. Doesn't matter what you're playing into, you've got a decent matchup. That being said, you've also probably got 6 energy in hand, so you better hope that other card is something that can let you play the game.
Yep.
I mean, Lugia, it hasn't changed much since, honestly, it came out. Even in the Silver Tempest era, it abused single prize Pokemon to put it ahead in prizes, and similar to Gardevoir, it has a mix of two prize Pokemon that can 2-shot and 1 prize Pokemon that can OHKO, so it's got the same vibe where you can put your opponent on rough prize trades, you could 1-shot anything in the format with Chinchino using special roll. Lugia's a bulky 2 prize attacker that can 2-shot anything. You could even play Iron Hands and just cheese out like a Gardevoir deck, because you could just spam Ampy very much before they could get going. Overall, it's tied for second with a few other decks for winning, and it has the highest top 4 percentage. And I think that's just because of the sheer consistency of a list like this. I mean, you're playing a very high supporter count, you're playing a very high energy count. Even if you get Iono'd, you most likely have gift energy on your active Pokemon, so if it gets KO'd, you'll just have 7 cards anyways, and you'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about Lugia. I hated it when it was the BDIF. I mean, it was just annoying to play against.
It wasn't fun.
It literally changed the game. It was one of those cards. I think LDF actually did a segment where he did the best meta cards or whatever.
Yeah.
And Lugia literally changed the game, because you weren't playing the game with the idea of, all right, this deck is decent against everything, or this deck has its shines here. Your whole building a deck is, can I beat Lugia? That's how your thought process was in Silver Tempest. It became one of those things where it's you don't improve as a player, you improve at beating Lugia. That's just what it was.
Because 40% of the tournaments were Lugia. You could bet that you could legitimately place money that half your matchups minimum would be Lugia, which is it's not fun. It dominated. I think the only deck that came close to that sort of dominance was Mew VMAX, which is another deck I absolutely hated. I hate when decks are 30 or more % of the meta. I don't think that's healthy for a card game. And even Gardevoir at BDIF, it's only 13%. You can legitimately go to a tournament and never match Gardevoir, even though it's the best deck in the format. Same thing with Lugia. 7% of people are playing it. These might be the top 2 decks. That being said, they're manageable. They're beatable. There's counters to them. I mean, Lugia specifically, the biggest counter is itself. You know, consistency and starting has always been an issue for Lugia. I think Carmine has been a big addition. I'm surprised actually this list I'm showing doesn't play Carmine. I think Carmine really helps with the bricking problem instead of research.
Yeah.
But this person, I took these lists off Limitless, off the most recent, you know, wins I could find. The list I kind of just generally liked a little bit. But yeah, Lugia is straightforward. A lot of Pokemon search, a lot of good attacking Pokemon, some good bulk. It's not the Lugia we saw, like you said. You know, it's not that dominant like it once was, but that's good. It's a healthy dominant now.
It's there. I still want to concede when I see an Ultra Ball and 2 Archeops go in the discard pile, because when I see Lugia V-Star, I'm just like, okay, this game, I'm just not set up. The
I
game's
swear
over.
I have the 1,000-yard stare when they like turn one to get rid of 2 Archeops and there's 2 Lugia in play. I've got that 1,000-yard stare, like, why do I play this game? I could do literally anything else with my life because I'm so traumatized from Silver Tempest.
Like, I would...
yeah.
Like, it's almost as bad as, like, Prime Lugia is like current Gardevoir for me. I have the same amount of like distaste for it. I would rather just play a different match.
Fair. I don't think I'm there
Lugia.
yet. I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'd much rather play against Gardevoir now than Lugia in Silver Tempest. Unless I was playing Arceus Flying Pikachu Tapu Koko, because that deck cooked Lugia just because of
true.
Basic Pokemon could attack, and I one-shot Lugia V's with Flying Pikachu for weakness. That was the only way I found. But that's exactly what I mean. Like, I built that deck to beat Lugia. Nothing else. It just happened to work against other things. But it was for Lugia.
And that's why I built Alolan Vulpix. I remember back when it was just being released in Japan. Like, when the print scans came out, I sent to you guys,
yes,
yo, this card could be insane. And then, like, that's before Silver Tempest. And then Lugia took over the format, and I'm like, well... The silly little fox is gonna have its chance.
Shameless plug. When Avery sent that to us in Discord, it is the same server I've turned into a community Discord down below in the description. So again, if you want to join it and hang out with us and scroll up far enough to see those messages, you probably can. You also might be scrolling through literal years of chats. So good luck. But yeah, that message should still be there in the general chat.
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere. Moving on. Top 3. I put Snorlax Stall. This was a little hard picking the third most common, top 3 deck, you know, in the format. Not third most common, but top 3. I think Stall's up here because it's actually the only deck right now with, I think, 1, maybe 2 matches that are like auto losses that you could expect to see at a decently sized tournament. It's so good right now into absolutely everything, and it makes me so upset because everyone complains about Stall being good, but then no one ever techs for it. And it's not super hard to tech for. It's very manageable to tech for. 1 mini or super effective classes, and you'll be okay, but people don't necessarily want to do it. Yes, I am also a Stall, not hater, but I don't like it because it just... Between accompanying Flute to look in your opponent's deck for Pokemon, you can use the Mantike, which isn't in this deck, but it's an attacker to pull Pokemon from discard into play. You could use Erica's Invitation to pull them in play from hand. It's just, it could search for, if you don't want to put your Pokemon down to stall, they'll get them down for you. And I don't like that. I think stall has gotten way too many, like, overpowered cards to just ruin decks. But definitely a phenomenal deck. A little bit, it used to be more difficult to play. Honestly, I think right now it's pretty easy. It's got everything it needs to find Pokemon, and you're kind of just sitting there and watch your opponent not play. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Stall,
yeah.
I still have the clip. Me, you, Courtney, and Richard were all on the same call. We all played Stall.
Oh, that's right.
At the same time.
That's right.
And
the Sleep Society.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, we all... I forgot what we were playing against. We got so upset that we're like, you know what? We're just playing Stall tonight. It's just... We're having a bad time. We're going to make sure everyone else is too. It's a good deck. It's a good deck. It does amazing. So, you know, Snorlax Stall. Not much to say with it. You just bring up B-Barrels, you bring up support Pokemon, like Manaphy's, Radiant Greninja if they don't play Water Energy, any Pokemon like that, and you watch your opponent realize that they have no switch in their deck, but they're still going to keep playing the game because they won't concede for some reason. You know, that's Stall. That's Stall.
Yep, your opponent is going to be very, very... If you have a very stubborn opponent, you're just gonna ruin their night with stall even harder than you already were.
But it's an amazing deck. Honestly, if you need a very weird deck to bring to a locals, and your locals is filled with a lot of new players that aren't as up to date in the meta, bring stall. Maybe they won't have any idea what's going on. It does amazing against people that don't have any idea what's going on. But your friends also might start to hate you, and if they know it's meta, you could still bring it, because I promise you, there's still probably not much they could do about it. So, honestly, phenomenal pick if you need something to play right now. You're not winning from taking prize cards, you're winning from decking your opponent out. But the thing about stall, it is tied for second most wins in the past 2 weeks, but honestly, I feel like stall doesn't win many tournaments. I think it's got a much bigger showing in getting like top 8, top 4 than other decks, because it's just consistently good at getting up there, but I don't think it's necessarily amazing at closing out wins, because the players who are winning tournaments know how to deal with stall so well, and I think that's what gives them the edge in that top 4 setting. So, just something to keep in mind. If you just want like a really good result for yourself, though, you're not necessarily going for a win, but you're trying to make your first top cut or something like that, I think stall would be a phenomenal pick for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very silly. It gets my first stamp of approval from this list.
Yeah, that's fair. I could rock with that. My first stamp of approval as well would go to stall. We got Xianpao. This is all your deck to talk about. This is your main deck.
Yes.
Yep, it's not main.
This deck right here. This deck right here has got to be one of my... Listen, I'm a fan of glass cannon decks. Listen, you might knock me out this turn, but I'm for damn sure going to make sure that I take you out with me. That's what I like. I like that aggressive. I like aggressive, fast-paced decks. Not Mew VMAX. I see one comment on this about Mew VMAX. I'm gonna tilt. I'm gonna tilt outside of the podcast. I'm gonna be in my truck or at my warehouse tomorrow reading the comments, and if one of you mention Mew VMAX, I'm going to comment under you, and I'm just gonna put minus rep, because at the end of the day, that's all I can do. But this deck, it's just so awesome. Irida was literally a supporter card made for Baxcalibur. You cannot convince me otherwise. Just being able to say Bax, Rare Candy, Shivery Chill, 2 energy. And, yeah, by the way, I'm going to Bibarel for an extra few. I'm going to play Pokestop, so that way I can get my energy retrievals, Ultra Balls, Nest Balls, Rare Candies. And, you know, I might have run out of Superior Energy Retrieval. Might have needed to Ultra Ball a couple away, because you don't need them at the beginning of the game. You normally have them at the end of the game. I might have to do that. I might have to Super Rod them back in. Oh, you took out my Xianpao? Guess what? It's coming right back. So you're going to have to deal with it again. Earthen Vessel, taking an extra few energy. Oh, that's right, Oko. Now, you might take me out. That's fine. Guess what? I got 4 Nest Balls, I got 3 Ultra Balls, and I got a Hisuian Heavy Ball just for that one quirky little time. I might need to pull that one out.
Pull Iron Hands.
Now, Iron Hands
against like Gardevoir.
Now,
yeah.
My personal list doesn't play Iron Hands. I prefer to run 3 Xianpao, 1 Suicune, and a couple Palkia. I'm going to give those back to you. Don't you worry about that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about those. I don't have my Palkia right now. Nuclear does.
But you got my Pidgeots, so you want to know what? I feel like that's fair for now. I think I gave them to you as, like, insurance.
No, I have my Pidgeots. Because Rachel has my Oh, whoopsies. All my cards just went away. Rachel has my Pidgeots.
You know what?
I just gave you Palkia. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just gave you Palkia.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's what happened. Because there's a couple cards at the back of my deck box. You know what? That might have happened, but either way, you're going to get your shit back.
I don't care.
And Iron Hands it's just an annoying card. When I see that get put on the bench, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, like, I'm going to lose 3 prizes this turn, and I'm going to be upset about that. Or they're going to use Arm Press. I think Amp You Very Much is such a stupid name, too. Who wrote that? Who translated that and got it okayed?
If you think that's a dumb name, you're not ready for the 3rd rogue deck on this slide.
Oh yeah. I'm ready for that. I think you guys are gonna see what's coming up next. But that little family right there, I respect it so much. It's meant to be silly. Iron Hands is supposed to have this big like menacing. It's supposed to be scary. Amp You Very Much. Like, what? And then you have Iron Bundle, which is such a funny tech card because it's like it's Escape Rope, but for your opponent.
Its attack is goated too. Have you read it?
True. It has a very fire attack, and that's what makes it even more silly.
Yes.
If you want to bax your energy on the Iron Bundle and just smack them and switch out their active, you know what? They're gonna have to sit there and cope. That's all. I'm gonna literally bring a card that says cope on it. And I'm just gonna leave that on my desk. It's like the one token you get to bring to a tournament. That's all I'm gonna do.
If you don't know what Iron Bundle does, its attack does 80 damage, and it prevents, if your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolution Pokemon, it prevents it from attacking next turn. So if you're up against something like Charizard EX, Dragapult, even Gardevoir, and Gardevoir's in the active, if you swing with the Iron Bundle, you'll prevent their evolution from attacking, which is like really annoying to work around if you can't get an Oko with Qianpao and you just want to sack a single prizer. Not a bad one to do because it could make your opponent waste energy from retreating or just sit there and not have anything to do next turn. It's not bad. It's not a bad card all around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the standard Bibarel, Radiant Greninja, Draw Engine, because Radiant Greninja is the best Radiant Pokemon they've ever printed, and they decided that that's fine.
That's not true. Radiant Jirachi exists, but that's just my personal opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. You have your opinions. I got mine.
This one's right. Jirachi's the GOAT.
Okay.
Flip 2 coins for auto KO is the only balanced auto KO in the game ever, and you can't prove me wrong on that. Like Star Requiem, not fun. Frenzied Gouging, not fun. Astral Misfortune, the panic you and your opponent feel when you flip one heads and you're waiting on that second dice to finish rolling is crazy.
You stare them in the eyes.
Crazy.
You stare them in the eyes.
Oh yeah.
With a grin on your face.
Radiant Greninja is the most overpowered. Jirachi's the best.
You know what? I'll agree on that. I'll agree on that 100%.
Cool. Number 5 for the list, you got standard Lost Box deck. It's been an amazing deck for a while. Nothing's changed. This deck will always sit in the top decks until the day it leaves because you have Comfey, Sableye, Cram, and Mirage Gate. That combo, that combo is insane. What is going on? I'm not sure, but it's alright. We're on the right side. That combo is just insane because you can take whatever single prize, or I was going to say single prize, single evolution, or you could even just play like something like Tina, and you could still put evolution Pokemon in the deck, but you could take whatever Pokemon is doing well right now, stick it in Lost Box, and it's going to be a good deck. I mean, it's like when Dragapult came out, Lost Zone Dragapult was a thing, Lost Zone Charizard EX was a thing for a little bit. Like, it's just whatever you want Lost Box to be, it's going to be, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, so it will forever, until the day it rotates like Mew VMAX, sit in the top lists just for that reason.
I don't have much empathy for Lost Box players because when I see 3 Comfeys on the board, you players just seem to always have 3 Comfeys on turn 1. I know you play 3 Buddy Poffins and 4 Nest Balls, but it's always just I'm staring down 3 Comfey, and you always find this. It's always off the flower selecting. It's never off of just having it in your hand. You just have a switch card.
Yes.
And then by turn 2, I'm seeing this prehistoric this thing in the active spot, innocently just geeking out on my active. It's only 110, but it's like, bro,
it adds really
up
quick.
so quickly, and for free, like four cards in the Lost Zone. Did they not think? Hey guys, we have a lot of switch cards in the format. Comfey is like pretty like the main engine. Should we up this to like 6?
No.
Something
4 is good.
No, bro.
1 Colress, 2 Comfeys. You got 4, and you're ready to rumble. That's all you need. Josh, avid Lost Box player. It's been his go-to deck since he started. Nothing's changed. For a good reason. I mean, the deck converts really well. It does well into whatever matchup you need it to because you could tech whatever the hell you want in it. I mean, if you got a problem matchup, just switch your Lost Box deck for it, and problem solved. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, with Mirage Gate, you can take whatever energy you want. So if your Pokemon needs energy to attack, Lost Box could be your deck. Like there's...
Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself.
Lucky Josh isn't here for the first one. He'd be punching the air right now, celebrating. But moving on to number 6, we have Dragapult. Xatu, I think, is the best way to play Dragapult. At least it's got, overall, I think the most consistent, like top 8, top 4 winning finishes. Its popularity is split. Like, it's at 3.6% overall, but if you combine that with Dragapult Charizard, this build, Dragapult Pidgeot, like, it will climb up, and I haven't counted, but it might be the most popular deck if you count all of those as one Dragapult. But I think overall this list is most consistent because you've got a good draw engine with Xatu and a good acceleration engine acceleration. Because Xatu can accelerate an extra Psychic per turn. And then you have the flexibility of playing Radiant Alakazam to fix math and use that as your backup single prize attacker, or Radiant Charizard because you're already playing Fire Energy. And I think because of that, this deck will always be great because you can flip between two amazing Radiant cards. Also, you still have Lumineon and Rotom to Force Seal Stone, Unfair Stamp, Neo Upper Energy. Both are great ace specs for this deck. I think if I made it, honestly, I don't know if I'd play Neo Upper Energy, but I'd really have to sit and think if I want Unfair Stamp. I think Neo Upper Energy is, like, way too good in a deck like this. It's just an easy attach, and hopefully take 2 to 3 prize cards in one turn because of Dragapult's attack. But, yeah. Simple list, very simple list, not super hard to play if you're a new player looking for a really good deck to play, and you want to play one of the newer cards that'll be in the format for a long time. I think Dragapult would be a great deck to invest in. I think this deck can only get better over time, and I can't wait for the new regional series because as much as, like, I'm not a fan of meta decks because I just like rogue decks more, I love how the game, you just have players who are like, I'm going to bring cards you've never seen and try to get a limitless page and make day 2 with them. I think Dragapult does deserve to get some good history in Limitless. It's a good deck. I think it's honestly pretty balanced as well at the moment. That could change when more cards come out. But right now, I think this is just a very fair top-tier deck, and it's great for newer players looking for a really good deck to play.
Yeah, I mean, Dragapult, I don't really have much hate for it. I don't have love for it either. Any deck that has rare candy in it, it's going to be very easy to get, considering that you have cards that search out supporters like Lumineon, Arven, Rare Candy, Dragapult. You're cooking.
And if you don't have that off Arven, you got Arven for Rare Candy, Force Seal Stone, which is just instant Dragapult. So, like, you're fine. Like, it's not a super hard deck to play. That being said, there is a big ceiling with it. So if you're, like, a newer player, you could play this deck forever, and you will see growth and get a whole lot better with this deck as you take it. So it's not just like it's an easy deck and, like, so straightforward because it only does one thing. Like, you could take this deck to different levels as you get better with it, which I think is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, standard list. To round out our top 7 decks, we got Raging Bull Ogerpon. I don't think it would be fair to leave this deck out. I almost did, but I was like, I can't. I think it would have been. I would have been happier, but it's very consistent. It torches anything in the active. It's built to deal with, like, Dragapult Charizard because it's a bulky 2-prize. It's not even like a glass cannon like Xianpao. It's just a cannon. It's got some meat, and it can just blow up anything. It's just a cannon. That's it.
It is a galvanized steel cannon, is what this thing is.
I mean, Bellowing Thunder, 70 damage per basic energy you discard, and you use your Ogerpons and Sadas to just get 4 trillion energy a turn in play. And with Bravery Charm, Raging Bull is sitting at 290 HP, so it's got more HP than Lugia, which I said is a good 2-prizer because of its bulk. And this is supposed to be a glass cannon deck, but it's not. Like, it's got the meat to be a bulky deck as well, so it's just... Yeah, it's Raging Bull.
Pokemon, they printed this, and they were like, people were calling this Raging Bulk. And look at it now. Like, Teal Mask Ogerpon came out, and it was like, I got you, homie. And then they just decided that, like, hey, we're going to be able to just knock out, we're going to OHKO anything in the game right now. Because why not? Nest Ball, Ogerpon, and then you have Squawkability for you. You know, you do the bird things, and then the Shandy Socks, and then you play Sada, and then, like, guess what? You're killing everything on their board. You might not even have to energy retrieval. You could just wipe them out turn 2.
Yup. I mean, it doesn't play superior energy retrieval. You legitimately don't need it. You play 2 energy retrieval and Sada, and you're chilling. And let me specify, this was Raging Bulk, not because of its bulkiness, but because the card sucked. Like, it was awful. But it's become a disgusting deck. That being said, 1 Sandy Shocks can deal with 1 Mimikyu. And they have a rod to get it back if you loop back your Mimikyu. But if you play 2 Mimikyu, this deck folds. Unless they somehow play Cancel.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not... I'm fine with the deck like this being as overpowered as it is, as long as it stays like this, because it is so easy to tech for. It's not hard to get around this deck. 1 Noivern EX, 1 or 2 Mimikyu. you're fine. Like, you really don't have much to worry about. A strong single prize deck, like Ancient Box, can destroy this deck. Because they can only attack 1 Pokemon at a time, and Ancient Box can OHKO them, but even if you just 2-shot them, you're a single prize deck, 2-shotting a 2-prize Pokemon, and as long as you could keep that attack up the whole game, like, you're fine. You're chilling. So, I mean, Raging Bolt's in the 7th spot for that reason. Even though it wins a lot of tournaments, it's popular, it's just too easy to tech for. I don't think at a regionals it'll ever have the same amount of success as, like, Gardevoir or, you know, like, Dragapult or stuff like that, just because it's not hard to work around. So, that's going to be in the 7th spot, and that'll wrap it up for what we believe to be the top 7 decks for the format at the moment. But we do have 3 rogue decks, which we'll include in our meta forecast as decks that we think are doing super well right now, are not super popular, and can really spice things up at your local tournaments with your friends, anything like that. And to start off that list, in number 1, we got Lost Zone Giratina. And this is why I prefaced, a rogue deck is not a deck that has won a bunch of regionals or is super popular. It's a deck that's not popular right now. So even though Tina has all of the math and numbers behind it to prove how amazing it's done in the past, not many people are playing it right now. And I think that it is a phenomenal time for this deck. It's one-shotting almost everything in the format with Lost Impact. Even though, you know, a deck like Raging Bolt might get up to 290 and you're swinging 280, if you just do that a couple times, Sableye can take like 4 to 6 prize cards in a turn if you really set it up like that. But Star Requiem is too overpowered a V-Star move to be in a card this powerful as well to not be a good deck, and I think right now is the perfect time to take Lost Zone Giratina back out of your binders, because I know you guys got it from when it was doing amazing, and give it a shot if you just want a deck that could legitimately win a tournament.
Yep, I feel like Lost Zone Giratina is like probably the best rogue deck out there right now, at least me personally.
No, I agree.
If you really
totally
want to start cooking, I've even considered rebuilding my Lost Zone Giratina deck on TCG Live, even though I despise Lost Zone and its mechanics, simply because of how good it is and how like I haven't run into one since I was back in college, like a year and a half ago. I legitimately have not seen a single Giratina V-Star since then. And we're talking about a move that for 2 energy, as long as you have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, which isn't hard to do at all. You play Lost Vacuums. Like, you can just absolutely annihilate your opponent's board state. Colress is like the easiest way to do it. Comfy out the start, you play 3 switch cards. You can so easily absolutely get 10 Lost cards in Lost Zone. You could use
Abyss Seeking too. I think that's the best way to do it. You could go second, use your final switch into a Giratina, and then you look at the top 4, Lost Zone 2, keep 2. So it just, like, if you choose to go second, let's say you use 2 Comfies, you're at 2. Colress puts you at 4. Abyss Seeking puts you at 6. You're already there. You're pretty much already there. Yeah. No, it's not a super hard deck to play. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, one thing I would probably do if I was to copy this list exactly, I'd take out Blood Moon Ursaluna and probably throw in Lost City, because when my opponent takes out Comfies, I want them to be punished severely for that, and letting them know that I'm getting closer to just saying, put that in the discard for me, please. I want them to understand that when they do that, they're just setting themselves up for failure. That is some of the funniest things ever.
That's what I love about Tina as well, is the flex it has for disruption cards. Not in the sense of like Iono spam, because it's a Lost Box deck, you don't want to play a high count of Iono, but the stadiums this deck can play are insane. I've seen a lot of Tina decks, even though they play 4 Jet, run Temple of Sinnoh, so Mist Energy has no effects, and Star Requiem hit harder. I think that's awesome. I think you can 100% run Lost City, that can devastate Gardevoir players. I also think a underrated stadium right now is Jamming Tower, and this deck could 100% run it. I mean, you only play 1 Forest Seal Stone, and you might not necessarily use it if you're going for a Star Requiem. So Jamming Tower is another phenomenal stadium you could play in this, on top of like Lost City for Blood Moon Ursaluna, or maybe even a Counter Catcher. I don't hate taking out a card like Counter Catcher. I feel like that's usually the card I go to cut in decks like this, because you could use Radiant Greninja and Sableye to get around attacking your opponent's active Pokemon. So I feel like you don't necessarily need it in a deck like this. Or maybe, you figure out a way where you have Palpad and 1 boss to keep your Gust in the deck if you need.
Yep.
Yeah, but overall, solid rogue deck. In the number 2 spot, we got, that's the wrong direction, we got Toedscruel EX. This is a deck I just showcased on the channel, will be the day before this video gets out, and I think this deck is amazing. It has been tearing up decks in the format right now with Colony Rush. On Toedscruel, you're swinging for a maximum of 280 damage. If you get a Legacy Energy onto it, it's really not hard at all to force a 7 prize card game and just make one of your Toedscruels or Ogerpons worth 1 prize only. I mean, you've got Slime Mold Colony on the single prize one to give Chien-Pao a hard time, since that's probably the hardest matchup for this deck without it. And yeah, I mean, this deck, it's just pure consistency. There's not many different cards in it, as you can see, and you're playing high counts of almost everything. If I had to take out a card, and honestly, I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to take out an Ultra Ball, and I don't necessarily know what I'm going to put in the deck. That being said, I know I don't need Ultra Ball. I've played I think today alone, I've played a good like 7-8 games with the deck just because I was having so much fun after I made the video, and I did not use Ultra Ball once. There's times I purposely got rid of it with Earthen Vessel to see if I even needed it or if I could just rely on bug catching set to pull out my Toad Scrolls, and every time, whoopsies, that's a sneak peek, every time it's worked. Yeah, this deck cooks. It's got Iono Spam, it's got Roxanne, high research, high Oko rate with Ogerpon and Toad Scroll, heavy Gust to try to get around bulky attackers you might not be able to one-shot, and its ability prevents Sableye, prevents Star Requiem, prevents, what am I missing? Dragapult's lost, like damage spread with the Phantom Dive. I mean, it's just, I think it's all around, it's got good bulk, good attack, great deck, and right now it might be my #1 pick for Baltimore at the moment, but there's another 2 months before Baltimore, so that's definitely subject to change.
Oh yeah, like I came out the shower after work today, and I come in the VC. I'm ready to record this episode for you guys, and I tune into my man's stream, and I see like 4 Ogerpon on the bench with 3 energy each and a Toad Scroll in the active, and I'm just like, why can't my Chien-Pao list do this as consistently as you guys?
That's ridiculous.
And I'm just I don't have much to say. This deck is just awesome. If you guys are looking for a rogue deck to pick up, I can't imagine this deck is expensive.
No, it is
whatsoever.
It really is. Only because of Ogerpon. Ogerpon's cost right now about $8 a pop, which is a lot for the Pokemon TCG. And maybe we're just cheap players, because like it's really not that much, all things considered.
No,
but for a Pokemon deck, that actually is a little pricey, and that's because Ogerpon is in so many like meta decks. So like I'm thinking about buying myself a playset of Ogerpons just because I really like this deck, and even if I don't bring it to Baltimore, I just love it so much I want to just play it at locals every now and then. And I think Ogerpon is so versatile, you can use it in so many decks. I know you'll be able to use it in so many decks in the future, so I think it's a good card just to have. So it's like a necessary, if you're thinking about cards you should have just to build decks going forward and build your arsenal, investing in Ogerpon is a legitimate investment because you could build so many decks off of it. Once you've bought Ogerpon, the deck is cheap as hell. I mean, it's the next expensive card might be Iono, which is like $1 or $2 each. I don't think Ionos are super expensive either. Oh no, Vessels. Yeah. Vessels are low-key $3 each. That's a little more pricey than one would think. But I have 4 Vessels, so I don't need to buy those. The only things I really need to spend money on are honestly like 4 Ogerpon in real life for the deck. But it's an amazing deck. Definitely recommend giving it a shout. Anything else on it?
This is definitely a silly deck. I mean, I don't expect to go to 3rd sometime soon. I might even go this weekend, even though my deck has this hasn't been updated since A-Specs dropped. Like I'm being dead serious. Like this is gonna be such a silly list, but I'm gonna go there, and if I play against a Toad Scroll, I'm gonna drop from the whole tournament. I will say that right now. If I go to 3rd and I'm playing against Toad Scroll at any weekend ever, I'm dropping from the tournament.
Don't have to worry about me. I don't live in the state anymore. Oh. That's for other people to run.
Yeah, you're gonna leave it to the gremlins, the mutants that might play this deck.
Yup.
It's just insane. I don't know what else to say. It's just awesome. And not as awesome as our 3rd rogue list, though, that we'll get into. Maushold
EX, the best deck in the format. I recently had a tournament, so I just moved to a new apartment by my grad school, and I invited a bunch of my home friends, college friends, a couple of my cousins who all played the game. There's 8 of us who showed up. Avery sadly couldn't make it. And I won the whole tournament playing this exact list of Maushold. And this deck might have been the most consistent thing I have ever played in my entire life for zero reason whatsoever. So consistent, I'm thinking about cutting the 2 gift energies and just putting in a 4th Mist and 4th Jet literally just cause. They were useless. It was so stupidly good. It was insane. Maushold EX with the Nom 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 Incisors attack. Swinging 120 and drawing 2 cards on top of Runaway Draw to Dunsparce. I think there wasn't a time where I had less than 2 cards in hand unless I was Iono'd or I Iono'd myself and purposely left 2 to Dunsparce in play just to draw another 6 cards right there. Radiant Jirachi goes stupid hard. Astral Misfortune, swinging for 2 heads, taking an auto KO, and Entrusted Wishes if you lead it. Put it in the active. If it gets KO'd by damage, 3 cards, any cards you want, straight into your hand, so it's just an auto setup. Paired with Survival Brace, if your opponent attacks you and you have a full setup with 4 Tandemaus or Mouse Holds in play, your opponent will take 120 damage. It only has 230 HP. That's not a lot. It's easy to OHKO. If you put Survival Brace and they don't vacuum it away or play Jamming Towers and they swing into it, you will live with 10 HP. So you will do 120 damage to them again next turn after you Sharon's Care, because you'll just full heal and loop the Survival Brace again, which I did multiple times at the tournament. I mean, honestly, and I say this being like, I know I joke about a lot of decks, even this one being the BDIF. I think if this card did literally 20 more damage, it would be, like, actually be the best deck in the format. I'm not even joking. This card, its numbers are almost absolutely perfect. You're just 10 or 20 damage short so often. Like, if this swung for 140 and attaching a DTE, sorry, I caught the card, I almost dropped it again, I always do this. If you attach a DTE and did 120, everything would be changed. But now if you do that, you're not KOing Iron Hands, you're not KOing Raging Bolt, like, there's so many different scenarios. Charizard EX will live if you don't swing into it, with something doing 120 and not 100. Like, there's so many scenarios where 120 is what you need and not 100 with DTE, but overall... Yeah. I think this is what you need to bring to a locals. Most fun deck. Honestly, this might be one of the most fun decks I've ever played in my life. And I have played an unholy amount of different decks in my life, surprisingly. So, this is up there. I think in top 3 ever. Like, and it probably will be there for a very long time. So, honestly, it's also on my list of potential Baltimore picks. It's that good. Where I am considering it. I'm not happy about, like, if Powerful Energy still existed, this would be my pick.
Oh
no
my
questions
God.
asked.
Oh
like,
my
no
God.
questions
Yeah.
asked. Yeah. Awesome deck. Definitely want to give it a shout out for it. So that's going to round it out for the Rogue decks. And going forward, I thought it would be fair if we showed the top tech cards. So if you're, a big deck builder like me and Avery, and you just want to, make your own decks and send them to me to showcase in the channel with the Discord down below, here are some tech cards that might help boost your decks against different matchups. For stadiums, we got Jamming Tower, Lost City. We've mentioned them at different points in the video. To just Jamming Tower, take an easy KO on like a Drift Bloom with too much damage done to it, and the Bravery Charm, take an easy KO that way. Prevent Forest Seal Stone. I mean, Jamming Tower does work right now. Lost City, same thing against Gardevoir. Gardevoir is only scary because it has a bunch of different attackers. If you Lost City them,
they're scared. They're terrified.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not worried about. Oh.
No, what's up?
I'm not worried about my cards going into the Lost Zone because I play this in my Chien-Pao build. I play 3 Chien-Pao. Yeah. I'm good. You take out one of them and put them in the Lost Zone. That's completely fine by me, because at the end of the day, when I Greninja 2 of your Curlias, if you don't play a Manaphy, if I just take out 2 of those, you're gonna have to rely on rare candies. Now, Arven exists, Pokegear exists. All right, I know you guys love to just have 3 Pokegear in your hands and grab the Arven and then rare candy, but if for some reason you don't find that, have fun. As a matter of fact, not even. I'll play TM Devo and then swing next turn on your Rolts. I will do that to you. If you choose not to evolve them again, I will swing on your Rolts. That's all I gotta say.
I respect it. In terms of Pokemon, Mimikyu and Ogerpon are very standard techs. I mean, it's pretty much what you would expect to see, but when you play a Mimikyu or 2, your Raging Bolt matchup just kind of skyrockets. Even decks like Regidrago V-Star, which I think would have been my 8th best deck. Like, I'm actually really upset I couldn't show that deck in the top 7. I think it would be 8 for me. Mimikyu solos, like, that whole deck if they can't get Mew EX down. There's just not much they could do about it at all. Ogerpon also solos Regidrago V-Star, because Regidrago and Ogerpon all have abilities, so there's, like, nothing your opponent can do if you get an Ogerpon down. Even Toadscroll. I mean, phenomenal grass deck, but everything has abilities. That's why there's the one copy of Mew EX to copy attacks like Ghost Eye and Demolish and get through those cards. But if you get it down after they filled up their bench, they're going to be in a pretty awful spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the effect of Alolan Vulpix' attack on an ability, which makes it even better. Because you can't always play Alolan Vulpix. Whatever Mask Ogerpon, you can always throw on your bench. You don't even need to. As long as you play like a Luminous, you could tech out one of your energies for Luminous Energy, and you could swing for 120 or 140, depending on what you want to do. And it's
Well, you can't do Luminous, because
weakness.
Luminous wouldn't work if any other special energy are in play. So, if you have like a DTE to swing 120, you need the fighting energy. But if you play Luminous, I mean, when you're playing a card like this, you're kind of hoping your opponent's board state can't attack it, period. So you don't care if you got to take 2 or 3 turns and set up an Ogre Pawn. Your opponent can't deal with it to begin with, you know. So that's kind of the vibe with the cards like that. And then the Secret Box, if you want to talk, because I know you've been a huge fan of Secret Box.
The moment I saw this card get revealed, I'm like, people are gonna sleep so hard.
And it's
They're
true.
gonna
They
sleep
have.
on it.
Yeah.
I haven't, when it got dropped, it took weeks for me to see someone other than me run this in a deck. And it's just because the other ace specs are actually, like, decent. Like, you can just add 100 HP to your Pokemon. Like, okay, so now we're almost at the 500 HP range for some of these Pokemon. And there's going to be a card that comes out. It's going to happen eventually. Where it's like, as long as your Pokemon has X energy attached to it, it gets, like, plus 50 HP.
Wigglytuff.
That's what's going to happen.
Special energy plus 100. I'm at 450. That was a good deck I played for a bit. I love that deck.
And they don't get to take an extra prize, so you have to find a way to swing for 450 damage
or play
to
Jamming
Oko
Tower.
it, or you can play Jamming Tower, which absolutely turns off 80, like a good amount of ace specs, which is awesome. Which is why Jamming Tower, I'm gonna start throwing that in my decks now. It just makes Gardevoir a lot
like
less
Prime
annoying.
Catcher, you've just got Escape Rope, but you choose. I mean, that's another overpowered ace spec as well. Obviously, a lot of decks are going to play it. But Secret Box essentially just guarantees you have a perfect hand. Like, if your deck isn't super consistent, I don't care what ace spec you're playing. If you like the deck enough, just throw in Secret Box, and if you get it and have just 3 other cards, it just guarantees you a perfect turn, because you take one of everything. So... phenomenal ace spec. I don't think it's seeing the love it needs right now. And Lost Vacuum, for very similar reasons, is as good as, if not better than Jamming Tower. Jamming Tower shuts down a lot of tools. Lost Vacuum is going to be the item equivalent to just permanently get rid of those tools. So it's almost the same exact vibe as Jamming Tower.
And the best part, they go into the Lost Zone. There's no way to get them back, regardless of what cards you play.
Yeah, although a lot of tools... Most people, I think the only way to get them back are like Silene and Roseanne's backup, and most decks don't play those often. So once you lost, like, even if you just discarded a tool, I think it'd be as good as gone. Like, if you discard Heavy Baton on like any Iron Hands list, there's no lists that I know of play Roseanne's and stuff commonly. I mean, maybe one person does, but 99% of decks that you're getting rid of tools are not going to recover them. So, but yeah, I mean, it's still Lost City. If they did have it, it's still lost. It's still in the lost, not Lost City, in the Lost Zone. It's still in the no-no zone.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's still in the no-no zone. Still in the timeout circle. So yeah, that's it. What we got for the top card, tech cards, and I think that rounds it out for the meta forecast that we have. So that being said, let's jump into the game. Who's that Pokemon? New game we have created, and basically the rules for it. So I am going to show a small 50 by 50 snippet of a card in the standard format. And we'll rotate every episode. So next episode, I won't be picking a card. Avery will. And we will have 5 guesses, or 5 questions and 2 hints to guess what card we are showing. So the box on the left has the small snippet, the box on the right has the big actual card, and essentially you have to ask questions that have to do with the TCG. So you can't ask like, oh, is this Pokemon from Gen 5 or later, but you can ask, oh, is this card from the Scarlet and Fire era or the Sword Shield era? And, you know, you got 5 questions, 2 guesses to try to guess who's that Pokemon. So for the clip, also part of it, the Pokemon has to be in the clip. The Pokemon is in the clip. I think it's self-explanatory.
All right, I will say I wrote out my 5 questions before we even started this podcast.
That's insane.
So
that's insane.
I have my notepad on full screen right now to avoid any potential oopsie daisies.
All right.
Question number 1: does this Pokemon have an ability?
Yes.
Question number 2: is this Pokemon featured within the top 5 decks, or you know what? Actually, top 7. We'll do top 7 to make it a little bit easier. Top 7 decks at the moment. It could be any Pokemon. It could be a bench blocker. It could be a supporting Pokemon, etc., etc.
Yes.
Okay. How many attacks does this Pokemon have?
Oh, that's a good question. 1. It's got 1 attack.
1 attack. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it from a main set or a subset?
Oh. Main set. Like 90% certain it's a main set.
Now, this question might not be allowed, and if that's the case, then I'll just use my 2 hints. But is this a Pokemon an attacker, a supporting Pokemon, or a liability?
Can I say yes? Like, is that...
Okay, yes, okay. I'll take my first hint, I'll make a guess, and then I'll take the second.
Okay, so you want a hint first?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I probably should have thought of 2 hints before I picked the card.
Fine. We got all the time in the world. It's just us.
So, I had... Oh. Alright, this is a really cheeky hint. And you could ask me for another if this isn't good enough. My girlfriend, you know Rachel, she started playing recently. Mm-hmm. She's seen this card and knew what it was. So, it's a card I know for a fact you have seen in your life, like, recently. You know, because she doesn't know many cards at all. Like, she's brand new to the card game. And I promise you she see it and knew it. Like, she actually helped me pick it.
Alright, I'm gonna say...
Is that an acceptable hint?
Yeah, it's acceptable.
Okay. I think that narrows down a lot of cards. Like, a lot of cards.
I'm just gonna take a wild swing. Is this my most hated deck ever, Gardevoir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn it. Did you know which part it was? I was hoping you would think it was a leaf. It's the forehead. I was really hoping that it would just go right over your head and you would hate this card like 400 times more. Because it looks like a leaf.
Oh, yeah. I feel like the attacker, supporter, or liability, I feel like that's a little bit of an OP question, but when you said yes, I'm like, alright, this has to be Guardy. There's no other way.
Did you think it was a leaf at first, at least?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, cool. Well,
I honestly, before this even started, I thought you were going to put Ambipom there, and I was gonna
That's a good one. I was actually going to put, you know, I could pull up the other clip I was gonna put because it was really funny. I'm just curious if you would have got this one because it just looked so goofy. So let me see if I could. Yeah, that.
I cannot see.
Oh, is it not showing right? Oh, that's right. I don't have a shared screen. Oh, I just exited out. Oh my gosh, I'm doing everything wrong. Well, that's all right. I'll pull it up real quick. So let me go here. Whoops.
Oh, all right. I moved the yellow boxes. I didn't even do that yet.
Oh, are you serious? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope.
I didn't even see like the leaf. I didn't even notice that. I thought you were like.
Oh, are you
serious?
You
talking about Ugrapon? Yeah.
What?
It didn't show up on my side.
Dog, you gotta pull it up.
I pulled it up. I just did, and you know what? Honestly, I would not have guessed that.
Come on! I thought you had this pulled up with me. Man.
I have the podcast pulled up. It's just the squares that didn't get deleted.
Alright, well, we blew that Pokemon to start, but moving on. That was a solid first one, I'll take it. On to some new cards for the set, and honestly, this has been going a little bit longer than I thought, so we could kind of go through these a little bit more. And honestly, the next podcast, we'll be talking about the impact of them, and I'm sure we'll see a bunch of these, so we can kind of just gloss over what they're doing. Kingdra EX, I don't think it's going to be as good as people think. Yes, Royal Command puts 3 water energy from your discard pile onto your bench, but you have to remember it's a stage 2 and an attack. Unlike Lugia, where it's a manual evolution stage 1 and an ability so you can attack that turn, you have to get Rare Candy Kingdra, which is easy with Irida, and then also waste another turn to attack and use this, which I think will put you too far behind at that point.
Fair, but let's say we're in a world where Battle Compressor comes out as an ace spec.
Then I take it all back.
This could be thrown into your Chiempao build so easily.
No, yeah, I think it's an amazing card, and I think it definitely has a spot where it'll do well, but I don't think it's going to have the performance people think it will, because it's an attack and not an ability, and the format is still too fast for that to be the case. And honestly, I wish it was slow enough where that was a phenomenal attack and broke the game, because then decks would have more time to get a gimmick going, get some fun stuff going, but it's just not. You know what I mean? And I think that'll hurt the deck a little more than it would like. Kyurem, the anti-Lost Box card. If your opponent has anything with Chorus in the name, it swings for free, or for 1 energy, 1 colorless energy, so almost for free. And you do 1/10 to 3 different Pokemon, so that is literally 3 Comfeys or 2 Comfeys, any Cramorant, goodbye, cooks.
I feel like it's a little too late for them to release this, though. I feel like they
Me too.
feel like they
it's like
just missed the
Spiritomb.
mark.
It's like Spiritomb. Spiritomb should have came out light years for Mew VMAX before it did, but that's alright. I mean, I'm gonna play it in most of my decks probably, and just see how good it could do. Dartrix, I think, will bring the card to save United Wings and make it the... Honestly, I think it'll make it the best single price deck in the format. Either that or Ancient Box. Because now United Wings can swing for what, 240? No, more than that, 320. Yeah, now it already swings 240. With Dartrix and no weakness, you're swinging 320, which is perfect math for everything, including Charizard EX, because it's weak to grass. So you could just play 1 or 2 Rowlet and use Dartrix to OHKO to Charizard EX, and I think that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, not much more needs to be said about that. I can't wait to make a video on that deck when it drops. We also have Dusknoir and Dusclops with the Curse Bomb abilities. You will KO yourself, and then you will put 13 damage counters in play on your opponent's Pokemon. I think it's worth it to just make a list where you manually evolve like 2 or 3 Dusknoirs and KO all of them at the same time and just board wipe your opponent. There are lists like that out in Japan, and that is another deck I cannot wait to showcase in the week Shrouded Fable drops, just because that is such a busted ability. We don't have many cards that KO themselves except for like the Claydol Brute Bonnet deck I made, which was from you. But it's like not good. I think Dusknoir is like great, like amazing. So there's a few Lost Box decks where you spam Lost Box to help just hyper draw through your deck and then just manually evolve like 2 or 3 Dusknoirs and Sableye that turn. Because what you want to do is you want to Curse Bomb, knock out like 2 or 3 Dusknoirs, and then Sableye and add another 12 on top of that. So it actually adds up so fast, it's insane. So
your opponent's gonna blink, and then their entire board is just gonna be like deleted.
Pretty much. So for this, I'm gonna move the Discord. So our faces are gonna be gone for this, just so I can talk about Power Hourglass first on the next slide, and just because the face cam was covering it a little bit. And at the end of your turn, if this card is attached to your Pokemon, you can just take a basic energy from discard and attach it to that Pokemon. So I think in a deck like Blissey, which has a really hard time with energy acceleration, this can really help get that deck going and make it hurt a lot less when you whiff an energy and like Arceus and stuff like that. And I think that'll bring a lot of decks we haven't seen dominate in the meta in a while, or just be good like ever, like Blissey. I think this will give them a big spot in the meta, just because that's such a good tool. And then we got some poison cards like the Biting Mochi I know you wanted to play, and Darkrai, right?
Ooh, yep. I have this silly Darkrai build that's cooking up. It's just beyond out there. But you play Radiant Sneasler, you play Brute Bonnet, you poison, and then you play, what is it, Jubilife City or something like that? Where opponents' active poison Pokemon take 2 more damage.
Perilous Jungle.
So, yep. Your swing, like, you just end turn, your opponent takes 50 damage. And to negate the poison that you take, we play Monkey Dory. So after a few turns, if your Darkrai gets hit a little bit, you can just move that damage onto whatever you want. And with Janie's secret technique, that's going to be absolutely insane for Darkrai V-Star, and it is so sad that it comes so late after Darkrai comes out.
I think it'll be okay, though. It'll give Darkrai some time to shine, and if you could use the, Star Abyss, and take 2 Dark Patch back, like, you could use 2 Dark Patch, use Janine's secret technique, and then take back 2 Dark Patch, and, like, you just got, like, 1,400 energy in play in, like, a turn.
And then on top of that, if you're going to play my silly deck, Binding Mochi on your active Darkrai, that counts for 2 extra Dark Energy that you don't have right now. Yep. Sometimes, like in a deck that's built around Darkrai, they notoriously, since I've started playing Darkrai EX or V-Star or whatever, I've always had a consistency problem where they brick sometimes, and that's completely fine. But when you're slapping this thing on there and you're poisoning both active, you can forget about those 2 energy that you could have gotten. You already have that. So that fixes math on a lot of things, because typically when you play like a Darkrai deck, you play like 10 energy. And that's swinging for 300. Now, of course, you're going to have the poison in between turns, which is going to... If you have all 10 energy, you're going to OHKO anything in the format.
Except
but
Charizard,
if you don't have
you're
all
hitting
10...
that with poison. So it's like, Charizard, Dragon Ball, you could still deal with those like pretty easy with a card like this.
Oh, this is going to be so... It's going to be so fun. It's going to be a fun... But you're probably going to break, and you're going to want to cry because you got a Monkey Dory off your top deck, and you started with the Brute Bonnet. It's fine. You're here for the fun. When it works, your opponent's going to cry.
Oh, yeah. Pheasantipity EX. A big card that has seen a lot of play as a tech cards in Japan right now with the Take Advantage ability. Also, these cards are proxies, so there is still some like Japanese text on them, but all the stuff we need in English has been translated to the best of my knowledge. Once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out, you could just draw 3 cards. So it's just a nice, like, help after an Iono KO in the late game, smack down Pheasantipity, use the ability, and just build yourself up a bigger hand. The big thing about it as well is it's 3 colorless energy to attack, and it's not a great attack, but it allows it to be played in any deck. So with an ability like that, plus an attack you could use in anything and just snipe 100 damage to a Pokemon, I think overall this is a great support Pokemon that will be featured in a whole bunch of decks like Charizard, maybe Dragapult, I mean, really any deck that could benefit from drawing 3, which is really any deck, and doesn't mind a 2 prize liability on the board, which most don't since they play Rotom and Lumineon and Squawk and stuff like that anyways. This is going to fit in with, like, that category of Pokemon, you know. In a deck where you might play Mew EX, you could consider playing Pheasantipity if you want a Dark Pokemon instead of a Psychic Pokemon. So, yeah, I think all around solid 2 prize support Pokemon.
All here for it.
To round out the new Shrouded Fable cards, we got Cassiopeia, which I think will be an underrated supporter. I don't think it'll see play in a lot of decks, but the decks it is in, I think will thrive because they'll build around it. When it's the last card in your hand, you can use it and just search for 2 cards. And we see a lot of decks like... Not a lot, but there have been decks like the Hisuian Arcanine deck where you try to get 0 cards in hand and swing for high damage. And that deck was really consistent. So I think with a card like this coming out, more decks will try to find a way to have 0 cards in hand to make Cassiopeia work. And maybe it's just playing all items, Pokemon, energy, and your pretty much only supporter is like Boss and Cassiopeia to raise your chances as high as possible of being able to get the full effect. So, yeah.
We also play a lot of cards that can thin out your hand in the format. I mean, we have Ultra Balls, we have Earthen Vessels, we have Secret Box, things like that. You could Secret Box and just grab this, and that's it.
Secret Box Cassiopeia is actually an insane combo now that I think about it. Because you could just take stuff to thin your entire hand and take Cassiopeia as your supporter if you know you're going to have no cards in hand after. So that's actually an insane combo. I didn't think about that. Oh, man. I definitely got to give that a shout.
Oh, yeah. And one of the things, you know this, Single Strike Beedrill. I can thin my hand like nobody else. I put myself in top deck mode way too much. So the moment this thing comes out, I'm slamming it down. I love cards that are like, you can only... Like, I like gimmick cards like that.
Yes.
Where it's like, only use this in a certain circumstance. And those are funny, because they always come with some crazy thing on it that everyone's like, what, you mean I have to, like, put my hand to 0? I'm not playing this. It's like 80% of the people are like, I'm not doing this. But that 20%, that's like, you could cook with this low-key.
Oh, yeah.
And then they cook, and then it's like in a top 5. And then people are on Limitless TCG, and they're searching up, and they're like, why is this in there? Hold on. Let me watch the VOD. And then they pull it up, and they're like, wow, they actually pulled this off pretty consistently.
Yeah.
Let me try it.
No, it's great. We also have Colress Tenacity, which is another supporter of that. This will see play in more decks, if they're not scared of Kyurem. The Kyurem will swing for 110 on 3-bench Pokemon. If you can live that attack, or you don't care about taking, like... You know, if you're playing, like, a low HP, but still a 2-prize deck, like Toadscruel EX, or, you know, like a Miraidon or something like that, you don't really care, because those Pokemon... It's a Glass Cannon deck. Not necessarily Chiempao, because you don't want to lose Frigibax and stuff like that. But any deck where it's like, I don't care if you don't one-shot me. I'm a Glass Cannon deck that plans on dying in 1 turn anyways, and I'm prepped for that. You can play Colress Tenacity, search for a Stadium and an energy card, and put them into your hand. I think in a bulky single prize deck or Glass Cannon 2-prize deck, this could be a big card, as long as you don't care about Kyurem. That being said, if Kyurem is going to destroy your deck, do not play this. I don't care how bad you need an energy card or a Stadium card. But it'll be a good, probably 1 or 2 of, in random, you know, like Glass Cannon type builds.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And
nothing crazy about it. Neutral Center, I think, is an awesome ace-spec. I think that's the best ace-spec we're getting out of Shrouded Fable. Prevent all damage done to this 2 Pokemon that don't have a rule box by opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. So it doesn't protect them from all rule box Pokemon. Radiance can still swing into them, but it does protect them from EX and V, which I think is amazing. You know, put this in a deck like Regigigas or Ancient Box or... I mean, really any single price deck, and you're gonna cook with it. I mean, you know, once it's in the discard pile, you can't put it back in your hand, but that's just because it would be too OP, and you could just Stadium Loop and just keep trying to keep this in play and prevent your opponent from attacking. But I think there will be a lot of gimmick decks, even like a Festival Leads deck, after it's fully set up, could really benefit from a neutral center. So, something to keep in mind as a potential... This is big for the rogue players right here. For the rogue and gimmick players, neutral center is going to go hard. And the card I was most excited to talk about, little sneak peek at the next slide, I hit forward by accident, is the Night Stretcher. Put a Pokemon or basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. And the reason being is because the Radiant Heatran, which has really never seen play. There's a couple lists in Japan that I've seen that I cannot wait to show off. And what they revolve around is you using Night Stretcher every turn, as well as the stadium. I forgot the name of it. It's like Calamitous Mountain or something like that. You take 2 damage counters if you attach an energy from hand to any of your Pokemon that's not a water energy. So you use Zatsu to put Psychic Energy on Heatran to build up the damage, and then manual attach the energy, so you put 60 damage on your Heatran that turn, and then it's 6 times 7, which is OHKOing anything, because it does 70 damage per damage counter on it. And then you use Night Stretcher to bring back Heatran, retreat your Zatsu, and just you do that literally every single turn. And it's a really stupid, really silly one-prize deck that I actually cannot wait to try, because it seems so dumb, but that's all that's in the deck. That's it. It doesn't do anything else other than loop Heatran, and I love it.
Yeah, you guys are going to have a fun time watching it on the channel, but one thing I want to say is neutral center. I think that there's way too many stadiums floating around, way too many lost vacuums floating around and things like that can get rid of the stadium. And since it can't be put back, I feel like this is probably going to be around for like 1 or 2 turns.
Yeah.
But once it goes away, if your deck is built on that stadium, I wouldn't recommend that.
No,
but if your deck is built on that stadium
for protection, for like just a little bit.
Yeah, like if you can live 1 turn with this, you've already proven its worth.
Yeah.
But if you play this down and your opponent immediately just gets rid of it, then like that's your ace spec for the entire deck that you cannot retrieve, and you're at a severe disadvantage to someone that's playing like Break Cape, Master Ball, Secret Box, things like that.
It's almost similar, in my opinion, to if you were playing a deck that revolves around Hero's Cape, like the Wigglytuff I mentioned. That card is amazing, so long as your opponent doesn't have Pidgeot to just take Lost Vacuum from their deck the second they see it put down. You know what I mean? Like, if your deck can hang without this A-Spec, but if you have this A-Spec for literally just 1 turn, you will be light years ahead. Perfect A-Spec for a rogue deck. Something like Ambipom, which you mentioned, I think Neutral Center could go stupid hard in it. Just because if you can buy 1 turn with Ambipom and then still force your opponents to just take a bunch more coin flips, that is ridiculous. And I think could be a good A-Spec to consider in a nice meme rogue deck, like, you know, some single prize deck like that. So, yeah. Anything
100%.
else you wanted to say on the future cards, or...
I'm really excited to just see what happens with the meta. I really want to see something change. I hope NAIC isn't just 2 decks in the top 8, because that kind of like... Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Worlds
is next.
Whoops.
This will be the last set before Baltimore. So, Shrouded Fable is going to be the last set of cards seen before the next... I think the first regional of 2024-2025 season, and it will be the regional we're all going to be trying to go to. So, this set is going to be the last set of new cards we'll see, and I'm hoping it shakes up the meta a bit. I don't know if it'll change too much. I think not necessarily new decks will pop out, but some decks we haven't seen in a bit will make comebacks, and maybe some newer decks will shine a little bit more, but I think for the most part, more decks are just going to have more different tech cards and just adapt their style a little bit, but overall, I think it'll stay relatively similar to what we're seeing now.
Yep. If this Darkrai combo I'm cooking up actually becomes extremely more consistent, I might actually, like... If it's mid-late August and I'm like, hold on, this is actually like pulling through, I might order singles and bring that to Baltimore.
Oh,
I just want to see the whole setup like at least once, and my opponent is just staring at that and just having no idea what to do.
Oh yeah, it's literally me with Mousehold. I just need it to work once, and I'm happy for the whole day. The dopamine I get from Mousehold doing Mousehold things was insane. Like it was wild. So, yeah, that'll round it out for the Shrouded Fable cards. And for the last set, or the last little thing I wanted to talk about for the channel, just some general channel updates for anyone that really cares just to see the direction I kind of want to take this channel. For the foreseeable future, we're going to have bi-weekly podcasts, so if you made it this far in the podcast, seriously, thank you so much. I know it's been a bit of a ride with some technical issues, like Avery not looking at the little snippet of the card, and me actually stopping the recording by accident.
I still got it, though.
You still did get it.
I still got it.
And honestly, it might have been easier by not seeing it. I
didn't need it.
I think it was easier that you didn't see it, because you weren't thinking grass Pokemon like I had hoped.
Fair enough.
But... was still a great round. Still had a ton of fun doing it. So expect some bi-weekly podcasts. We fully plan on having 3 hosts every time we can, as well as inviting different guests as, time goes on. We meet new people, and, we might just have someone show up for, like, a surprise episode. And, maybe we might change up the general structure of the podcast, but I think for the most part it'll be a metaphor cast plus just some extra general information on what's going on, but I'll save that stuff for when we want to talk about it on the podcast and not ruin it all now. I'm also going to be starting something that I tried this week called Meta Deck Mondays. I had a ton of fun playing a meta deck for the first time in probably 2 or 3 months. It's not something I do very, very often at all unless I'm helping a friend or someone in the Discord play a meta deck. I usually don't get to play it myself. So it was a nice change of pace, and the video did pretty well enough that I want to keep doing it, and that's really all that matters. And by well enough, I mean it got more than like 13 views and 3 likes. So my bar is not super high, but I had a blast. A bunch of people seem to like that vibe, and just once a week, put a meta deck out there. I'm also going to be doing something called Wild Wednesdays, which was an idea sent by someone in the Discord channel, Shiny Gliscor. And seriously, thanks to you for this idea. I cannot wait to start it next week. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going on like the random wheel generator thing on Google, and I am adding 1,000 Pokemon. Goldengo is the 1,000th, or is it the 1,001st? I don't remember. I think there's 1,000, but I'm manually adding 1,000 different sections on a wheel and spinning it every time because random number generators are a little boring and too quick. So I'm going to roll a wheel, get a random Pokemon from the Pokédex, and then I'm going to build a deck with that Pokemon in it. And if it's an evolution Pokemon, I'm just going to use some part of that evolution line. Like if it's like a middle evolution and it's trash and I could just Rook Candy it, I'll probably just do that. And since it's the Evo line, I'll call it fair enough because there's so many different Pokemon, and I think it'll be crazy enough. Like you'll get the vibe. And I'm going to like time lapse me building the deck, so you'll see like in a 2-minute span me spend 30 minutes building some just abomination of cards. And who knows, I might pull something like Dragapult, and I might pull something like, I don't know, a Sentret, and I'll try to make it work. So I can't wait. The only thing is I'm just gonna do expanded cards, so if I go to the Pokemon and I see it doesn't have a standard card, since I know standard best and I think I can make the most efficient standard list, I'm gonna keep it to standard only, and I'll probably just like respin the wheel and get a different Pokemon. And then I'll also be doing something called the Sunday stream. It's exactly what it sounds like. Every Sunday I'm going to do a stream. Last Sunday I did a little stream, and I had a ton of fun. I mean, I've actually done 2 now. I did one on Switch, one on YouTube. But I think I like doing it on YouTube a little more, just because I'm trying to just build the channel on YouTube a little more, and I think just keeping everything in one place is a little easier for me to just stay focused on how different things are going and what I can improve better, since it's just one platform. So every Sunday I'm going to be trying to stream on YouTube and do different things. Like last Sunday I did just some deck testing for me for Baltimore. This Sunday I think I'm going to spend a little more time playing whatever people want me to play, or just play against anyone that's viewing the watching along. So if you want to play against me, give me a deck to play. You want help building a deck, if you're a new player and you have no idea what to play and you want me to build a deck for you with some cards you have in real life and online, I mean, join the stream, let me know. So that's something I'm going to try to do weekly as well, and then I will also have that as my video for the day, so they might actually come out Sunday morning or a Monday morning, like to view in general, but Sunday night is when I'm going to try to stream as consistently as possible, and I'll post channel updates if something comes up and I can't do a Sunday. Maybe I'll move the stream to a different day of the week, and I'll post a general video. But yeah, for the most part, that's where I think I want to take the channel. So yeah, I don't know if Avery, you got anything you want to add that you want in the channel me to do? I
mean, I don't really. You've been going really good, and I don't know. There's literally like nothing I could really say to improve the content. I mean, it's very engaging. You have a voice for this. You are able to keep me hooked. Listen, when I play CS, which is a game I need to be completely locked in, especially for the rank and placement that I'm at. I need something in the background to keep me entertained. Like that's how wired my brain is. But I can just tune on one of your videos and just sit there and stare at it for 50 minutes. And like, I'm able to be completely like, there's no other distractions, which is something that's very rare. And I'm so glad that it's one of my best friends. And honestly, it's a game that I love to death. I can sit there because at the end of the day, when you draw 2 Bibarel, 3 Ultra Ball, and 2 Energy, I can sit there and I can say, you want to know what? He can come back from this.
I almost said some very bad words when that happened. There was like, I was this close to punching the face cam when I drew into that. I was like, there's no shot that this is what's happening right now. But seriously, I appreciate that so much. That almost brought me to tears. That was way more than I expected. So I'll take that time too to say thank you to all you guys who have made this channel what it is in the very tiny amount of time it's been around. It's actually only been about a month and almost a week. So to get this far, this quick, I mean, I think I just hit 250 something subscribers, like 251 or 2.
Jesus.
So it's like, yeah,
Bravo.
like, dude, my average like views per video are like 500. So it's like, I can't say how much I appreciate the support from you guys. I couldn't do it without an amazing community like the community I've already started to build, and I can't wait to see where this channel goes in the future. So if you've made it this far in the podcast, seriously, thank you so much. I cannot express how much it means to me and my friends that like we're doing something like this and people actually give a shit. Like it's super sweet. It's an awesome feeling to have. Oh my god, there it is! There it is! That's the first curse word for the channel! Oh crap! I knew it was coming at some point, I just didn't know when. Wow. Yeah, I don't even consciously try to not curse on the channel, I just happen to have not until right now. It blew my mind.
Well, we got a lot of firsts today.
Yeah, a lot of firsts today. A lot of firsts. So, thank you so much for tuning in. If there's anything you want to see in other episodes, please let me know in the comments down below or in my Discord server, which will also be down below. And with that, thank you so much. Stay epic. Peace.
Be rogue, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, sorry for the cut. Not goodbye yet. I forgot to say thank you, Slides Go, for the awesome presentation background. I have to give credit to the company that made this, even though I can use it in videos. So Slides Go made some awesome presentations. I will put the website link down below as well. So if you want your own epic slide creations, there they are. Slides Go, if you're watching this, please give me a sponsor. I'm using these every other week. So thank you so much. There's the Discord stuff that'll also be in the description down below. With that, stay epic. Peace.